live. Cool. Uh, hey, Facebook people. No, this is YouTube. Obviously, I have too many social accounts. All right. Let me get y'all set up. I'm about to start recording the Hard versus podcast. And so, as always, I'll let YouTube in a little early, kind of behind the scenes. I've got to somehow fix this. Let me just show you my little rig as far as I think I've showed this to you, but my rig for my for holding my phone is this. Okay. And so when I kind of put you see there's that right there, and I put it in there like that, then all of a sudden it seems like it's going to hold it right. What we're going to see, I'm going to put that in there, and then um, somehow kind of strap that on there so that it will be so that it will take care of that. Let's see here. If I come around this way, come around this. Ooh, 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 ooh. Y'all stay with me. Y'all stay with me. What I'll do is then I'll take that, put a little hair, have my little hair thing right there, and then pencils everywhere. I didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to do that. All right, I want to take you, and then I'll stick you right there. And y'all are none the wiser, except it's wanting to hang on it. It's not good. Okay, hold on. Hold on. I'm still dressed from Sunday services, by the way. I had to preach. Had to preach. What, you know, I had to preach. Just hold on. For those who are not used to this kind of treatment, I'm sorry. Hey, did that work? Hey, it worked. Somewhat. All right, so, all right. I haven't started the recording yet. I guess I can put this, turn that around like that. And that's still a little bit wonky. Hold on a sec. A sec. Oh, ooh, 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 ooh. No, stop. There, right there, just a little knot. Oh my goodness. Why? Let's not do it like that. Let's do it this way. Let's put this underneath here, like so. Like that. Is that more level? I think that's level. Okay, and let's turn you like that. All right. I think we're good. Now, for those who've been hanging around to watch me set my stuff up, I'm not done yet. I'm just taking behind the scenes to show you what I do. I'll be right back. Got a light? Yeah. See, I got my light. I gotta plug it up. All right, so okay, that's kind of a light. I'm gonna turn it over this way. All right, put you like that. So there's my light. And I think that's, yeah, so I got a little bit of light coming this way. All right, not done yet. Ha! Christmas lights. And so you know, if I plug in Christmas lights, that it's going to be an even better show. Okay. All right. This is a little bit different. And when I get into it, we're actually covering, there's no way I'm going to cover all this tonight. It's going to be a several part, when I say several part, like probably 4 or 5 parts, going through Matthew 24 and Luke 21. So let me get me a new audio. This will be hard versus my little cheat sheet here. Hard verses year 2018 02. Today is the 25th, so the 25, and then it's going to be EP00. And then what episode is this? There's nobody live to tell me what episode this is, so just hold on a second. And if y'all want to go straight to the the meat and potatoes of it, y'all can go to the website. Actually, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, well, let's see what it says here. We can go over here, which, by the way, started the greatest year of music ever. And go look it up on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Google Play Music. Anyway, I enjoy it. It has nothing to do with Christianity. It's just me and a bunch of buddies talking about music. And it's just zero. I mean, they know I'm a preacher. They're heathen. They're like heathen musicians, meaning that they're traveling and actually are playing for a living. So it's kind of a dichotomy there. Fun, absolutely a fun show. All right, so I just don't need that right there. We're gonna go to hard verses. It appears Morale. We are on episode 25, 20, 27. Is it 27? Yeah. It appears to be episode 28. All right, episode 28. We'll go with that. We'll go with that. Okay, so episode 28. Episode 28. And that's it. Okay, and we'll hit okie dokie. Do a little quick test on the mic. Check, check, check. Levels look good. All right. Here we go. What we'll do is we will imagine the intros there. I'll put it in post, and then we'll start the Bible study. Thanks for being so patient. You got 5 seconds of silence, and it's on. Here we go. Welcome to the Hard Verses Podcast, episode 28. And I don't have a catchy title on this, but basically it's Matthew 24 and Luke 21. And if you have a catchy title for that, please send it in. But it's covering several things. One of the things that I have been, I was wanting to do is go over. I mean, I know we're talking about hard verses, which would indicate a verse, but this is more like a hard chapters, which is not. It's not very poetic sounding. Hard chapters. But anyway, Matthew 24 is one of those hard chapters. A couple of disclaimers. If you're coming to it with a preconceived notion of something, you better check yourself or you wreck yourself. That's an 80s term. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to actually go through this without having some kind of bias. And I mean, I make no bones about it. I'm biased too. But something that I found out it's a hard section of scripture to go through. You have to take your time with it. You got to look at it. And what I would like to do is try to line what's going on in this chapter or these two chapters. They're parallel passages, by the way, Matthew 24 and Luke 21, and talking about the destruction of the temple, and it's talking about the end of time. And so if we divide it up and try to figure out what's going where, I think it would be a beneficial study for all of us. So without further ado, let's look at the chapter. And you say, well, I normally I'll go in and say, I read the verse, which is real quick, and then I say, and you know what the problem is, why this is so hard, and I go through. There's not going to be any of that, and I feel almost guilty for changing the format. But what I want to do is just take about 20 minutes and go through just an overview of the chapters, and then we'll get in and dig in deep over the next few days. And what I suggest, all those that are my subscribers, you'll have this. Go through and look at it and ask some questions. I mean, go in there and ask some questions. I have several people that will give me input, and what I truly appreciate is those who bring in more Bible, more Scripture, and show, because there's a lot of opinion out there, and this show is not about opinion. And you say, wait, but you give me your opinion. Well, I don't mean to. That's not the purpose of the show, but to get in and see what the Scripture says. Now, Matthew chapter 24, and I'll go ahead and read it. And for those that are just wanting a verse, you might want to skip to the one of the later shows. But in my Bible, it has as the heading of Matthew 24, signs of the end. All right. So going to chapter 24, verse 1, and Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. Okay, so first of all, the setting. They were at the temple. This would be the temple that would later be destroyed in 70 AD. This would be the temple that was rebuilt. This is not the original temple. You look through the history, it's been knocked down and rebuilt several times. And right now there's the Dome of the Rock on the place, which is an Islamic thing. So the temple's not rebuilt there. All right, so looking at, okay, he showed him the buildings of the temple. So they are there. They are at the place where they're supposed to be worshiping. That is where all the stuff occurs. It's also the same place where Jesus turned over the temple. Turned over the tables. The same place. Okay, so and Jesus said to them, "See ye not all these things? Verily or truly I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us." Notice the questions they were asking. "Tell us, when shall these things be?" And there's a question mark, and then it starts, "And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" So there's three questions asked by the disciples. Okay, so there's a statement made by Jesus. There shall not be left here one stone upon another. He's talking about the temple. There will not be one stone left upon the other. And these stones were huge. When I say huge, tons. These things weighed tons. And just thick granite rocks. And so for them to say, wait, what do you mean? Like a storm could knock these down. What are you talking about? That would have got their attention. Because when I say they were huge, they were huge. Look it up, how big these stones were supposed to be, how heavy they were. Man could not have pulled them down by themselves. They had to have some kind of mechanism or some animals or something to pull them things down. All right, so they asked them that. So the three questions. When shall these things be? Talking about when will the temple stones be turned over? All right. What shall be the sign of thy coming, of Jesus' coming, and of the end of the world? So three questions. All right. Verse 4. And Jesus answered and said to them, "Take heed that no man deceive you." All right, so far he has not answered the question, but he's given a warning. Let no man deceive you. "For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many." Okay, keep that in mind. When is there going to be many that will come in the name of Christ and deceive many? Okay, this is in his answer. Number 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Okay? So the second thing, you're going to have a bunch of deceivers, and then you're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars. Okay, now does that nail that down? All right, well, hold on a second. Let me just say this. Has there ever been a time in history when someone has claimed to be the Messiah or Christ? It happened in the last century. And I want to keep asking this question about, can we narrow this down? Can we narrow it down? Okay, and so far we can't. I mean, there was a guy by the name of Bar Jesus, or son of Joseph, that came as a false teacher. We see that in the Bible. So he came. There was, there was a whole bunch of revolutionaries, and as they came, remember the Messiah for the Israelites. I mean, think about it. The Messiah for the Israelites was going to be a military leader. That's the reason why they rejected Jesus, because he was like, my kingdom's not of this world. And when Peter pulled out the sword and cut off Malchus's ear, put the sword away. Live by the sword and die by the sword. It's not going to be that kind of kingdom. It's a spiritual kingdom. All right, but they were looking for someone to deliver them from Rome. And I don't blame them. I don't blame that. Rome was oppressive. And they were supposed to be God's people, and God was supposed to bless them, and God was supposed to give them the temple, and they're supposed to give them the land. He promised us, God, they could have said. Of course, their sin is what messed that up. Their idolatry messed that up. And so they were looking for a physical Messiah. Now, when Jesus was not the physical king, warrior king that was going to take out Rome, there was people that started stepping up, and they were like, hey, I'm the one who's going to deliver this people. And you think about that kind of deliverance. He says the Christ, that he would be the chosen one. And then there was. And they would go into battle, they get slaughtered. Well, I guess he wasn't it. You know. And it's an interesting history to go through and look at it. Matter of fact, if you go to Northwest Florida School of Biblical Studies, that's a big mouthful. But if you look up NWFSBS, again, that's NWFSBS, and it's taken me years to learn how to say that, the Northwest Florida School of Biblical Studies. There's actually a whole lecture on religious history from 33 AD to 1500 AD, and it shows a lot of that about the Jewish history. All right, but anyway, so you can see how some of this stuff was predicted and came true. But does that narrow that down to a certain time? No, because there's several times when there's messiahs. Okay, so let's keep going. So we're not able to narrow it down quite yet. All right, and wars and rumors of wars. Okay, and when has there ever been a time when there hasn't been wars and rumors of wars? Well, technically, I want to say right before the destruction of Rome, there were several years of peace and tranquility. But that's the opposite. That's saying that there's a time of peace. Okay. All right. And see that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Okay. All right. Number 7, verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Okay. When has there ever been a time when there was not war and famine in diverse places? So again, it's very difficult to narrow this down again. Okay. But there's more clues coming. All these are the beginning of sorrows. All right. So after all these things occur, there's going to be a time of sorrow. Number 9. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you. All right. All right. Now you have the time between the emperors, Nero and Diocletian, and those all the way up until Constantine, that were trying to kill Christians. So you've got several centuries there that we can't narrow it down even then, because all that persecution occurred then, and all the martyrs occurred then. It even happened back, Stephen, he was martyred because the Jewish leaders stoned him. Okay, so again, we're having trouble narrowing it down. And then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. When has that not been the case? And many prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. Okay, when has that not been the case? And because iniquity shall abound, and love of many shall wax cold. And when has that not been the case? It's not really narrowing it down, is it? But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So who will endure the persecution to the end will be saved. Okay, again, there were centuries of martyrdom. Okay, verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Now, question I have is when was the when was the gospel preached to all nations? One of the things that we see when we look in Paul's writings, he talks about that it went to the whole world. Now, was it the whole known world or was it the world? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if there was some, but supposedly after 30 years of going out and missionary journeys, the known world was covered by this. So could it be right after this, after the 30, which would put them at around 65, 67, 70 AD? So there's a clue right there that it could be, if you're going to take that one clue about the gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And because now you're saying, well, it's when it's going to be in Iraq and Iran and Syria and all them Muslim countries. Well, Christianity's already went through those countries, and they got beat back. Again, go to nwfsbs.org and look at the history, that 33 AD to 1500, and you see Christianity went everywhere, everywhere. And then when Islam started up, it started spreading like wildfire, but that was a different method. He would come in with a sword and he would say, you can give tribute, or you can convert to Islam, or I can kill you. And he was very effective. When I say Muhammad was effective, I mean he was saving people left and right, and I put that in air quotes. I mean I'll say he was converting those to Islam left and right. You talking about people were motivated? They were ready to get right with him. Okay. All right. Then go to verse 15. Okay, verse 15, it gets a little weird. Now remember, there was 3 questions asked. When is the destruction of the temple? The second question is what were the signs? Let's look at here. Look, when will the destruction of the temple be? When shall these things be? What shall be the sign of thy coming? How about Jesus coming again? And of the end of the world. Okay. So far, what has he answered? Has he answered about the destruction of Jerusalem and the destruction of the temple and that, or has he just described his second coming? Keep that in mind. All right, we're going to go to verse 15, and we're nowhere we're getting into Luke 21 because I'm going to go to 20 minutes. We're going to stop. All right, verse 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea, which Judea is the area that Jerusalem is in. It's like a county area that Jerusalem is in. All right, flee into the mountains. Okay, so when are they going to need to be fleeing to the mountains from Judea? Who's in Judea? That would be the Jews and some of the Romans, and maybe the Samaritans. They might be coming down that area some, but they were a little north of that. The desolation, and again, you think, well, what does Daniel have to say about it? Well, I don't have time to get into that tonight, but we will. 16, then let them which in Judea flee into the mountains, which would tell me this is a local event. He didn't tell those in America or those in Spain go and whatever. He's saying those in Judea flee into the mountains. And the thing about Judea, Jerusalem is on an elevated plain. That's the reason why it says that whenever you go away from Jerusalem, you're going down. Whether it's north, south, east, or west, you're going down because it's elevated. But then there was areas like Pella, which was a mountainous area, and it was within a running distance, I say running distance, where you could flee to. So Pella. And there was Christians that went in there during the time of the persecution and the siege on Jerusalem, and supposedly 0 Christians died in the siege on Jerusalem, but millions died of the Jews in that siege because they didn't take the warning. When you see that, so that desolation, which would indicate that it would have been that I didn't mean to squeal in your ears with my little mouth noises, but the Roman emperor that was, and I don't have my notes in front of me, but the one that was sieging on there, could it be that he is the desolation that Daniel is talking about? All right, and then verse 17, let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them which are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. Okay, so if you got young kids, it's going to be horrible. And it says, but pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Okay, why? Why about the why? Okay, well, number one, if you're on the housetop, which the houses are a little different than what the houses in that area, you could go up on top of the roof and relax. Remember Peter when he went in the trance? He was on top of the rooftop when that happened. He was relaxing on top of the roof. And so if you're up there and you see this, whatever this desolation is, get off the housetop and get out. And don't even take anything out of your house. Don't go. If you're in the field, don't go back and get your clothes. Get out. And that's the reason when Rome came in, Vespasian, I think it was Vespasian. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. All right. All right. And then it says, and pray ye that your flight be not in winter, neither on the Sabbath day. And the thing about winter, of course, you need to prepare for a winter trip. But the Sabbath day is interesting because on the Sabbath they would close the gates. And so if you're stuck inside during that gate, you're stuck. You can't get in or can't get out. All right. And this says, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Well, what about Noah? Huh? What about Noah? Well, that destroyed destroyed the whole world except for 8 souls. According to Josephus, that was the words he used to describe, similar words to describe the destruction there in Jerusalem, that nobody has seen such carnage and so much cruelty and so much suffering. And you think about Noah, I mean, I'm not saying it'd be a fun way to die, to drown, but instead of a year-long siege where you're starving and people are cutting each other up, and people are going against each other, and they're anyway. And it says, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. The elect's sake. The elect's sake. Ooh, what is that? The elect's sake. That sounds like Christians. So how's Christians doing? So okay, here is it's getting a little fuzzy. And we are at the 20-minute mark. Actually, we're 19 minutes and 55, 56, 57, 58, 59 mark. Okay, 20 minutes. All right. So we're going to have to come back to this and be a part 2. Again, if you have questions or comments concerning this, input other verses that go with this. Try to remember this show is about hard verses, and it's about understanding it mostly in light of Scripture. Even though I go, to history, and I go to, scholars and some scholars disagree, some, they're opposite, so we can't trust everything. But I say all that to say this: we're going to get a little more in depth in it. So, let me tell you what you're supposed to do. I need you to read Matthew 24, and I need you to read Luke 21. And I believe Luke 20. Let me double check while we're all on the phone together. There's no phone, I know. But since we're all on the same thing, Luke chapter 21 is going to be, and it starts out with the widow's sacrificial offering, but at verse 5, and as some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, he said, as for these things which ye behold, the days will come in which there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. In verse 7, and they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what signs will there be when these things shall come to pass? See, that's 2 questions there. All right. And it'll go on down to the end of the chapter. All right. So those are your two areas. And again, these are hard chapters, not hard verses. So if this is not if you came to hear a hard verse, get in, get out, this is not the one to be part of. See me in the month of April. You need to come back in April. Or just watch bits and pieces of this. I also like to encourage, so after you read Matthew 24 and Luke 21, and you write down your questions and your comments, and then you go onto YouTube and asked or comment on there, then also you subscribe. You need to go to YouTube and hit subscribe. And let me tell you why. Because I had several to subscribe this last month, and it made me very happy. It was one of the things where, like, should I keep doing this show? Should I keep, staying up late on Sunday night or Monday and have to study stuff that I'm not even covering right now because last few weeks I've been preaching on giving of ourselves. Well, there's no hard verses on giving of ourselves. It's pretty clear. We're to be giving of ourselves. And so it's additional study for me. So subscribe. The other thing is, what I need you to do is I need you to also share. Meaning that if you get this on Facebook or if you get it on Twitter or whatever place you get it, you need to say, hey, check this out. Why? Because you love the show. If you hate